the biggest thing that I have for Charlie Kirk is to be thankful for him. To be thankful for that man that existed, for attacking it in the way that he did, because he taught us all lessons. We saw eye to eye on many issues that we were fighting shoulder to shoulder for, to make the world a better place, somewhat in our own image, that we hope to be a reflection of this idea of God, someone that is truly trying to help all and make life better for everyone through peaceful means and methods. And on that, Charlie and I certainly were brothers, and for him, I say thank you. And just like that, we are back with Chapter 83 of The Universe According to Mugsy. Today is Thursday, September 18th, 2025. I am MugsyTheCreator. Undeniably, this episode is going to be a little bit different than some of the chapters we've explored together on our journey, examining the current events, how they are a product of the culture, and how our only contribution to that culture is our own individual consciousness. This chapter is going to be a little bit different because undeniably, when we reflect back on it, we will call it the Charlie Kirk episode. I don't know exactly what we're going to talk about. I don't know exactly what we know to be true at this moment in time on September 18th, 2025. Just days into examining what Charlie Kirk's life truly meant to our society as it touches different groups of people, different individuals in different ways, and undeniably causes some sort of reaction in this country, which we have seen before, as we have to rectify our own personal idea of what is right and true and safe to do in our society with what has played out before our very eyes. My own personal reaction to this whole thing must have been some sort of traumatic response. I'm sitting there watching Below Deck with my wife when I get a text message from a friend. And my buddy says, "Have you seen what happened to Charlie Kirk?" And Charlie Kirk is always going off on something, rubbing somebody the wrong way, using his words to try and reach someone on a personal level, to make them think in a different light, see the world in a different reflection. I digress. As I'm sitting there with my wife and this traumatic event happens and we both see it play out in real time, my immediate response, which must be a reflection of how traumatized I have been personally over time, seeing things on the internet or in real life that I have found out later, was designed to give me an emotional response and hit me with this trauma and stress that I'm supposed to integrate into my body by feeling that in that moment. At the same time, all these people around the world are feeling it. So my immediate trauma response is, that's not real, that's fake. Look it, he flinched, which is hilarious. It is truly a reflection of how nuts I must be. But I'm just so used to this. Because it's never what it seems in front of your eyeballs. It's never exactly what it seems. And I know that because of 9/11 and Pearl Harbor and Vietnam and Osama bin Laden and Barack Obama and Donald Trump. It's never exactly what it seems. I love what Charlie meant to so many people. I love what Charlie was doing, trying to use his own individual power to help people think differently so that we can reach some sort of common ground peacefully and coexist together. And I hope that's the message that resides after his death, after his murder, after his assassination, allegedly, from what it looks like today. But I just don't know. And I can't integrate that now. All I can work on is living in my own current events and trying to understand exactly what's happened. So me, running around here doing crazy podcasts myself, don't get Charlie Kirk, and that's the first joke that I made the next day as I'm running around the restaurant with my crazy friends trying to figure out, am I traumatized? Am I traumatized from seeing that thing? A little acorn falls on the building above us. It hits and it makes a loud thud, and it's just a bang, and I go, oh no, don't get Charlie Kirk, and that is truly such a reflection of where we are at as a society, as Americans. We don't know what to do. Should we cry? Should we all get up and recognize that there's a civil war going on and pick up a gun and start fighting? Should we laugh? Or should we laugh at ourselves for how crazy it is that we are now prosecuting people for thought crimes without even having a trial? Which Walter Kern and Matt Taibbi pointed out in a conversation this week. Everyone's talking about it because it's a moment that captured us virally. And when I think about this virality, someone intended for it to have such a profound effect on us. So I think that it is appropriate for us in this chapter to explore some of the things that we know at this moment in time. Because depending on where you exist in each country around the world, under each different government, we don't know how we have to act. They're supposed to protect us from seeing these things, right? That's what they're trying to do by limiting our speech. But here Charlie is fighting against that as a free speech advocate, saying that words are never going to be the thing that hurt us unless you kill someone for saying words. In the UK, they're putting you in jail for things that you think that you tweet out to your limited amount of followers. They're saying, put grandma in jail. She's not allowed to think that. Is this supposed to be designed to be a fear tactic that the American people are supposed to integrate so that our freedom of speech, which was once enshrined in a document, right, Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States, which we all believe that we exist in, that now, oh no, wait a minute, we're supposed to integrate that this idea that no, that's not the case. Is that continually what happens over time? Whether it's Pearl Harbor, whether it's Vietnam, whether it's Charlie Kirk, that we have to be reminded by someone that reaches out and touches the ceiling that must be broken for us to break out of this pattern and understand that there are forces at work in our society. Charlie believed them to be spiritual. Perhaps over time, we will see how they are dark spirits integrated in ourselves, in our own consciousness. And how can we change our own everyday life to change the culture so that we produce different current events? Who has talked about this? Tim Dillon had my friend Max Blumenthal on, editor of The Gray Zone, for an interesting piece that he had a volatile reaction to. His own documentation, knowing Charlie Kirk over many, many years as Max Blumenthal, editor of The Gray Zone, independent journalism, has been a central force in Washington, D.C. over the years, trying to expose what is going on inside the oligarchy that is at the center of our government structure. Because Charlie Kirk was so unique at such a young age, putting together such an impressive coalition of politically minded activists organized so well together behind Charlie Kirk's CPAC organization, Max Blumenthal had to take note of it. One of the things Max Blumenthal was able to point out, being so close to the DC elite, let's talk about Max Blumenthal in the honest reflection of who Max is, because I don't want people to think that I don't know who Max is. Max is one of the very few independent journalists who I was able to reach out to and have contact with when I have been trying to reach out to anyone who would hear anything that I had to say from 2020 until present today. In September of 2025, 5 years, I've been knocking on doors, making phone calls, sending out letters, trying to get anybody to respond to me. True independent journalists like Walter Kern and Max Blumenthal, some of the only few that I've had interactions with, are people that are out there beating the street looking for the information that will be important, if not today, then tomorrow, to understand how things are operating in the current moment so that we don't get fooled by anything that plays out in front of the media, playing out in some sort of dramatical soap opera. Slowly releasing this information over time, meant for you to look in one direction after one killer. Oh, wait, it's not that guy. It's actually this guy over here. His mom turned him in, and this is actually how the soap opera is playing out. The only people who are able to predict the future are the people that really know what's going on, who are out there on the street, and it's not always the same person. Max's portrayal of Charlie Kirk was an honest one from how he sees things as a class traitor, brought up in all of the schools you and I, the highest levels of polite society, inside the levers of power, you and I would probably love to go to inside Washington, D.C., rubbing elbows with the elite, the people that truly make the decisions on how our society is going to work and play out. Max Blumenthal said, I love Charlie Kirk. He was a good guy. I knew him for a long time. I am paraphrasing Max Blumenthal because it's incredibly impressive. He was such an articulate young man. And at such a young age, he must have put so much time and energy into understanding the positions that were so well thought out in his own mind, in his own personal opinions, or what we were meant to believe were his true personal opinions. I say this because Charlie and I differed. Max and I are closer to a reflection of each other. Charlie and I differed in the ways that we would attack this world that we saw, the reflection of our own consciousness and the society that we saw play out. I am much more of a class traitor, nowhere near reaching the levels of height as Max Blumenthal, which a lot of people critique Max Blumenthal as being some sort of controlled opposition. Let me tell you something. If you are the one paying attention to me 3 years ago on Twitter, listening to whatever rants that I was going on, that's incredibly impressive hard work. That's burning the midnight oil at different ends of the spectrum, whatever. That's a hard worker. He's working incredibly hard if what he's intending to do is be some sort of controlled opposition that's eventually going to give way to his parents and his friends and the powers that seed him. This is usually much more obvious. Crystal ball at breaking points is a much better example of someone who is suckling at the teats of power, hoping that they will be brought into the club. Max Blumenthal seems to have said, I was inside the club. I hate being inside the club. All I want to do is expose the club for what it is, because only when we expose the club do we have any hope of coming together as a society and creating any sort of golden age and hope not only for this country, but every country around the world, trying to create anything that will have substantial meaning and value over time. That's what a golden age is. Now, I am much more like Max Blumenthal, so Charlie and I chose different paths on how we were going to attack the world. Charlie took funding to be a political activist, as I see politics as theater that plays out before our eyes, which we're going to hit on again in just a few moments. But what Max was able to do is tie Charlie's original funding back to some very wealthy donors who are extremely tied to Israel. I don't know much about Israel. I'll tell you what, I dated a Jew back in the day. I liked her very much for reasons that if you guys know anything about Jewish women, you can guess or speculate on. I'll leave that to my own audience to figure out. I have no problems with Jews. Lots of Jews taught me shit. They taught me so much information that I wouldn't have known if the Jews didn't tell me. And a lot of the Jews be reporting on what a lot of the other Jews are doing. So I have no specific problems with Israel, right? I have no specific problems with Charlie Kirk taking money from people who are tied to Israel. But it is very important. I grew up in an economics background as a business student, understanding who you get into bed with. Because a quick Wikipedia search will alert you to the fact that Israel has a long list of people that it has assassinated. Now, how could Wikipedia have assembled this? Isn't Wikipedia run by the people inside the deep state and the CIA to control information? Oh, yeah. That's because those same people have the same relationships with Israel. Israel is not being shy about this, okay? They're not shy about the fact that they want you to know that they assassinate people who talk against them. In fact, they don't have a lot of things that they're good at with their military, but blackmail and technological information operations and assassinations are the things that they're very best at. Those two specific areas, they want you to know that you should be very worried about them. Now, Charlie Kirk's positions over time have changed. After that October 7th, that horrible murder of many, many, many people, which kicked off this event that is going on between Palestine and Israel that many people are referring to as a genocide. And Charlie's position on Israel has softened after October 7th, 2024. And as it appeared from the outside looking in, I'm not a politician. I just read the tides of the things that I can see in my everyday life. Now, it appeared that Israel was trying to drag us into some war with Iran, and Charlie Kirk came out against that. And he also was pretty tough on Israel in their Palestinian destruction, abomination of what used to be the land called Palestine, against this Hamas terrorism group, which Bibi Netanyahu has been funding the entire time. Charlie Kirk, for 10 years, put together an unbelievable coalition of young, politically organized people who all thought in a certain direction. You could say that Charlie Kirk cultivated those young minds and built this golem, all right? Something that has power together. And he breathed air into it. That was being utilized by his donors for a objective against Charlie Kirk's inner mission. That he finally, after a decade of working with those donors, finally decided to go in a different direction of, and perhaps, I am 100% speculating, that was the reason that his business partners went back on him. Because that is the way that I see it. That's why I choose to go in a different direction with no business partners. It's real hard to cultivate an audience, but I hope to have a loyal audience whenever I do find them. And I will not reach the same levels that Charlie did. I'm okay with that. I'm not looking to attack the issue, the reality that I see in the same way that Charlie was looking to attack the issue. But nonetheless, the biggest thing that I have for Charlie Kirk is to be thankful for him. To be thankful for that man that existed, for attacking it in the way that he did, because he taught us all lessons. We saw eye to eye on many issues that we were fighting shoulder to shoulder for, to make the world a better place, somewhat in our own image, that we hope to be a reflection of this idea of God, someone that is truly trying to help all and make life better for everyone through peaceful means and methods. And on that, Charlie and I certainly were brothers, and for him, I say thank you. It was a moment that I saw reflected immediately in Joe Rogan's reaction and on his face as he found out in a podcast with Charlie Sheen that Charlie Kirk had died and been assassinated, because in a way, Charlie Kirk was speaking freely, and in a way, he was assassinated for that. There are strong men all over the country that are doing the same thing or trying to speak freely in whatever way that they can. Whoever it is that is reaching you and resonating on that level, this was a shot across the bow to them. I returned to the assassination being a psychological event, a psychological tactic meant to instill fear in the populace and anyone else that has a camera or a microphone, and prevent them from speaking maybe certain places, maybe certain platforms, to fear what you should say. Joe Rogan understood that, and it was reflected all in his face. That we now exist in another reality where people like him are going to have to be a lot more careful about where specifically they speak and what security measures they've taken. And that is all just aspects of control, which, as we've discussed on this podcast, is a figment of our imagination. Now, I'm not saying there aren't different tactics and different ways to go about yourself. You don't necessarily want to stand directly in front of a cascading river unless you want to be the martyr for everyone else to see, right? And I think that different humans take different paths energetically to get to the same place. And I think that resonated with Joe Rogan. It struck me how upset he was initially, especially compared to my reaction. I'm such a dummy. saying, "Oh no, this ain't real. This ain't real. Charlie Kirk's alive somewhere. This was a puppet that they put out here to scare us. Some sort of fear tactic. I don't know." What are the things that I didn't cover? I feel like I've been rambling for a long time, but I feel like all of that was important. Important for us to reflect on. And again, we know nothing. There is going to be more information as this soap opera plays out, which is the only reason that I can be 100% certain the things that I saw with my eyes were not the entire truth. The truth will be revealed in different moments to different people, in different reflections as the earth spins on its axis, as we choose to see things in a different light. Some of the other things that we didn't talk about was what's unique about this assassination was Charlie Kirk's relationship with people of power. It is not like a random podcaster or a random political activist was assassinated. This was someone who was very close, had regular conversations with the people in positions of power inside the White House, inside the cabinet, inside the defense apparatus, inside the military, inside the media. This was someone extremely connected. And if we are to believe Max Blumenthal's reporting, someone who is expressing fear and concern. In the weeks leading up to the events that happened that appear to be Charlie Kirk's assassination and death, we really have no idea. Even the people that are telling us now that Charlie Kirk was expressing some sort of concern, are we to believe them? It feels weird when the Vice President of the United States is flying the ashes of an individual, a political activist, home. Wouldn't these people, the cabinet and the White House, be the specific people that would have been in a position to protect this specific political activist who has been so vital to organizing and campaigning for you in the past and in the future? Your party, anyways. If the president is no longer going to run again, the vice president surely may have some aspirations to do so. So it seems like there are a lot of people cashing credibility checks on Charlie Kirk's name, standing there saying that he stood for a lot of things, and they're making money off it, and they're campaigning, and that scares me. As a reflection of our society, that is the aspect of this that I don't understand. Is that the soap opera that's playing out before our eyes? Have I even, in this podcast, if we go rewind the tapes, rewind those back in 10 years, that thing that I just said, is that going to reveal me to be some sort of brainwashed, mind-fucked person? Maybe. Maybe. I don't know. But this reflection of society that we exist in is headed in a direction. It's headed in a direction, and if you can't see it clearly, maybe you need to wipe off them spectacles and see what's going on, because I see it so clearly everywhere. As I said, to start this whole conversation off, me and my wife were sitting there just trying to watch Below Deck. Can I just have like an hour just time to myself where I can just relax and not be programmed with all of this bullshit that's designed to infect my subconscious so that I will become this program that plays out in society and makes the same decisions? You can't do that, because television is a weapon. It was patented way back in the day. Go look that up if you don't believe me. And Below Deck has, again, my business background coming to bite me in the ass. There's been a changing in the guard of who owns the asset that is called Below Deck and Bravo Network. Now, in some way, it's merged with Peacock, and Peacock has gotten their hands all over it. Peacock also owns Love Island. So at the beginning of this season of Below Deck that we have with this Australian captain, what I love about Below Deck is it's such a reflection of my experience inside the restaurant industry. It so accurately reflects the relationships, the craziness, the working so hard that you take no time for yourself, and then you wonder why everything in your life is going crazy and haywire, and then you have these moments of expression where you go wild and crazy, and then you have to go right back with that same energy into that same work ethic, and it's this cycle that plays out around these people that you're forced to be around with. They become like family, that you develop these toxic relationships as you coexist together. That was so awesome to see play out over all these seasons of Below Deck. But now they got the Love Island in there with the Peacock coming in and infecting it. It was one of the only shows that I have the ability to withstand in my mind and just go in there and take all the hate that I need and have it for these people on the television. But the editing, I noticed, have changed. There's a lot more clips and cuts to the relationships going on and less operationally what's going on the boat and how things are happening. And what's interesting about these people that they now have on Below Deck is a lot of them don't know anything about boats. You have the people that know everything about the boats. It's right there next to the people that know nothing about the boats. And it's not like they're green. They're a little bit green and they're trying to learn. No. These are people that have no interest in ever being on boats unless they are the ones being catered to, yet they have to be the ones catering to others. Like this girl So-So on this last season of Below Deck. And she comes on, she has precisely 0 days of experience on a yacht, which is so funny because all of the times in my life that I've applied for things, even with significant experience, even when I was more credible, than the people that they currently had doing the jobs. I had more experience and more credibility. I had the degrees they were looking for. I had done the thing. I had proved myself in some way. I could never even get an opportunity. But here they have this person, this girl, she's very pretty, So-So, French, beautiful accent. And they just get to be tried out on this yacht. Like, how lucky is that? How lucky is this girl to be able to go in and do that? But then the season plays out, and we're at the end of it now. The finale was last week. And interesting, I was on the internet, looking at internet things, and I stumbled upon a list here of all the people on Below Deck that are now on OnlyFans. All of those years that I had watched Below Deck, I was not following that each one of them would leave and do the OnlyFans thing after. And now, as I'm reflecting on this Below Deck and the editing changes and the direction that the show is taking to follow more of the emotional love life of the crew on board and less of the operations and functionality of the boat and the crew and its interactions. Oh, we're creating assets for the deep state in another way. Now, right there on television, it's the Love Island girl. She was from Love Island before. They put her she did good, I guess, on Love Island. So they were like, let's get her on some more Love Island stuff. We don't have Love Island for another 6 months. Well, we got a Below Deck coming up. Stick her on that yacht. We'll have her make bed sheets and we'll see what happens. Over time, yeah, she was pretty popular. And she saw that happening on social media as this slow release of Below Deck happened on Bravo each week. And now she's got some sort of credibility, some social status that's out there in the world. So now she's got to use that and parlay it into some money and some more credibility. So how's she going to do that? Get naked on the internet. And now we have a machine here, a mechanism, this Below Deck, which used to be this thing, this show about boats and the people that rode on boats. And now we've slowly made it into Love Island on the ocean on a boat. Where, there's some people that are renting it out. Actually, next season of this next Below Deck series, there's going to be an actual dating show that takes place on the yacht. Do you not see where our society is going? It doesn't surprise me. No offense, it doesn't surprise me when I see some of the Charlie Kirk things happening in society. Look at the everyday things that people are tuning into. They are plugging into and mainlining this into their veins, okay? And nothing is going to change until we pause so that we can eat healthy, breathe, and laugh at ourselves. Because we are the nation and the culture that is creating all of these current events that we see playing out before our eyes. So don't you remember to laugh at yourself as you are on a journey to take back your own consciousness. And until you find that, I love you guys. I am out. If you want to find out where else you can listen to this broadcast and you're a human, you can go to MugsyTheCreator.com. If you're a robot, I got nothing for you. I mean, unless you can subscribe over here, or you can click this playlist. If you're a robot, you can do that. That would definitely help. Like, subscribe, whatever you want. Thanks a lot, guys.